Welcome back to another Pokemon TCG tabletop video. This time, no League Challenge, no League Cup. We're just going to be playing Friday Night League. And we're going to be going in with our Regidrago VSTAR deck. Now, I played this deck to Toronto Regionals. I think it's pretty far and away the best deck in the game right now. So just wanting to get some more experience on the deck. I did decide to register last minute for San Antonio. So I'll be there and I will almost definitely just be playing this deck. As far as the list goes, we've got an Iron Bundle in the deck. I think that card's pretty good for the Regidrago mirror match. We've got a Hawlucha. I like that card against decks like Charizard, Golden Go, Dragapult, Gardevoir. Really all these like evolution decks with the 70 HP basics. Any deck with Hoot Hoot is also really good against. Something like Terrapagos or like Palkia Terrapagos. All those kind of decks, all those Noctowl decks. It's a good card there. Otherwise, just one stadium card. It's going to be the Jamming Tower. I like this card just for, mostly blocking random Forest Seal Stones, right? Decks like Charizard, Dragapult. Yeah, mainly those ones, I suppose. And then otherwise, it's also amazing versus Gardevoir. And then the rest of the list just rounded out by consistency. You'll notice there's no Canceling Clone. If you wanted to play a Canceling Clone, the Hawlucha could probably come out for that. But this is what we're going to be playing for today. And we can get right into the gameplay. In our first round of Friday Night League, we end up running into a Regidrago mirror match. We lose the coin flip, and our opponent calls first, which a lot of people have been questioning lately. I do still like calling first in Regidrago mirror. I think there's a lot of value when your opponent just starts with Regidrago. You get to attack it on turn 2. Of course, when you go second, you do get more reliable setups with the Cleffa sometimes, but sometimes you start Regidrago V, you can't move it, and the person who goes first gets to capitalize. I think especially if you decide to play Iron Bundle, it makes a lot of sense to just call first. But I think either way, it's not too significant of an advantage. We see a pretty standard turn 1 for my opponent. Lots of energies coming onto the board. He goes ahead and uses Squawk and Seize. Looked like his hand was pretty underwhelming, and he had to put that Squawkabilly down. Squawkabilly is a Pokemon I love not to put down in the Regidrago mirror. I think it opens up some opportunities. There's some lines where you can potentially like Kyurem, the Squawkabilly, and the Regidrago V-Star, and then go for some kind of 4-prize Dragapult play, just allowing you to not need as many gusting effects. So love to not play the Squawkabilly if possible, but sometimes it's got to be done. I go ahead and Earthen Vessel here after using Teal Dance, and I do my complete prize check here. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this and get back into the game. After I prize check, I end up getting nothing from this Earthen Vessel. I believe I'm about to just play a research, so I don't want to waste any energies. Now, I could hear an argument for potentially getting maybe a fire energy out of my deck. I like to get a fire energy out of my deck and discard it when I have all 3 and both Super Odds in deck. So I imagine I either prized a fire energy or a Super Odd, or else I would have just thinned out one of those fires. I did also happen to have Prime Catcher at my opening hand, which is a little bit of a bummer. Would love to keep that in the deck, but it's just going to have to hit the bin from the research. I go ahead and use it on the Squawkabilly. Just a little bit more annoying to retreat the Squawkabilly than an Ogerpon, right? It's going to require an actual attachment. And then I go for the Cleffa and the Mew. I believe when I went for the Mew, my 1 card in hand was Ultra Ball, so no matter what my cards were, I was going to be able to get down a second Regidrago V. But I happened to just draw into the Regidrago V. I go ahead and bench it and Cleffa up to 7. Now my opponent starts off his turn by benching Mew EX, and I was really happy to see this because it locks him out of Cleffa, which puts a lot of pressure on him because now you can see in the spot, he doesn't have his Prime Catcher or way to Gust, so he's going to be under a lot of pressure to maybe flip his V-Star to try to find Prime, or he's just going to have to pass with a 2-prizer in the active. Either way, it seems like a really good spot for me. Either he's down his V-Star or he, gives me the prize lead. So I think I would have liked to see that Cleffa get benched. Of course, if he just ripped the Prime Catcher off the research there naturally with a fire energy, he would have felt pretty good about this board state, but now it's a little bit awkward. Just going to go ahead and develop his board a bit more, get double Regidrago V-Star down. I do think he is also missing a viable attacker in his discard. And he actually ends up mewing into the Prime Catcher, but he never found the fire energy, so he can't really make a cool play here. I believe he just ends up ripping the V-Star power, which I'm super hyped about. For those of you that don't know, if you rip your V-Star power like this in the Regidrago V-Star mirror match on turn 2, you're generally going to get punished pretty hard. There's a lot of cards you can discard that can be taken advantage of. My opponent actually gets like the most clean V-Star power of all time, but it's still going to be a little bit detrimental for him. He's looking at grabbing that Earthen Vessel to search out a Fire Energy. It makes a lot of sense. He's got that Tina in his hand. He's got a discard. And one thing that stood out to me here was that I think he actually ended up debating grabbing Research here, which kind of made no sense to me. I felt like Prime Catcher was like a slam dunk second choice here. So this just let me know that his other card in hand was probably pretty terrible. But I think the Prime Catcher is just really threatening, right? He's going to take 2 prizes here on this Ogre Pawn, and then he's threatening next turn to take another 2 prizes with that Prime Catcher. So he's probably going to end up getting Iono'd regardless. Definitely do not need that Research here. I think I also would have liked to have seen my opponent go for the Regidrago V, maybe with like Loss Impact the Regidrago V, or potentially go for some kind of Dragapult play, maybe like Dragapult the Drago, put 6 on the Mew. There's some ideas of like some Kyurem plays later on, but I definitely don't like Loss Impacting the Ogre Pawn. And when I start off my turn, I of course know that he has the Prime Catcher in hand, so I'm definitely going to need to play an Iono this turn. Definitely can't allow him to just take 2 prizes on his next turn. Makes his prize map way too easy. I also know that he has a Boss's Orders in the discard pile, so if I play an Iono, I send his Prime Catcher to the bottom of the deck, and if he doesn't find his only Boss's Orders, he won't really have a way to make a relevant attack. My plan is to attack with Goodra here. You could potentially argue that a Giratina attack would be good here, just KOing some of his energies, applying a lot of pressures to his attackers, but I felt like I really didn't want to allow him a path to victory that didn't involve like multiple gusting effects. Additionally, knocking him out would give him Pheasantipity, which I really wasn't too keen on. So after this Iono, I think I was content if I like just naturally drew Tina, I would have gone for it, but I end up drawing Ultra Ball Vessel, so I get to choose. I take the Goodra, I put it in the discard pile, and I think I just go ahead and like activate all my abilities, develop my board a little bit, and we're going to see a Goodra attack here. I count my opponent's deck just to kind of assess the odds of him having Boss's Orders. I think it is actually reasonable for him to have Boss's Orders here. His deck looked pretty thin. I think the other thing I was thinking about is if he drew Research here, I think he was close to being able to just like almost deck himself out with Research and potentially find his Prime Catcher. So I was definitely a little bit worried in the spot that my opponent was just going to have the gusting effect. But if he ended up going for the gusting effect here, then I think I would just go for another Goodra, force him to find his last gusting effect. And he actually just ends up draw passing. He's got tons of Pokemon Search. You see that Pheasantipity in his hand. And in this spot, I debate just like knocking out his active with Goodra, but I don't want to give him an opening to Fez, potentially find a gusting effect, and kind of capitalize on his prize lead, right? He could like go down to 2 and then use his last gusting effect to win the game on the following turn. So I really just didn't want to allow that. I also thought in the moment that like Kyurem here just looked really good. I haven't flipped my V-Star. I can just damage a bunch of Pokemon, especially like the Mew and the Squawk. I guess it doesn't matter if I just like Kyurem, the Mew, the Squawk, and active with intentions of just Kyureming again on the next turn. I probably just win the game anyways, but I ended up deciding here that I thought it was really likely his hand was like clogged up with like Nest Balls, Pheasantipity, Pokemon. And if I just didn't kill this Drago, he was probably going to end up draw passing again. So I just decided to kind of throw this damage on the bench, Regidrago V-Star. Not expecting that damage to do anything. It just didn't want to knock anything out. He goes for a Boss's Orders on my other Drago, which didn't make a lot of sense. Just makes this play a little bit easier for me, but I had the switch in hand, so this was guaranteed regardless. Just go ahead, rip my V-Star, discard whatever, and then I've got the E-Switch in hand to go for the second Kyurem attack, take 6 prize cards, and win the game after falling behind at the start. Getting into round 2, I'm up against a Charmander, which I'm pretty hyped to see. Of course, Charizard, a pretty good matchup for Drago, but I actually have a really bad opening hand. I think I have this Vessel to get 2 energies, but I really don't have much else going on. So after this prize check, I'm just going to end up attaching to my Pheasantipity and passing over the turn. Over to my opponent's turn. He's got tons of gas in hand. You can see that Rotom at the front of his hand. He's also got the Arven, and he's going to go ahead and flick that Precious Trolley to the front of the deck right away. So we're going to see a full board here. Not sure entirely what he's going to go for. I believe he does play a Manaphy, which is a little annoying when I discard Kyurem on turn 1 and he plays a Manaphy. I think I also had ideas here of potentially attacking with Pheasantipity. I don't think I was ever going to actually do that. My goal on the next turn is just to probably get into a Cleffa, maybe get down some Regidragos. And one other thing that's pretty significant here is we see our opponent get Defiance Band off of Arven. To me, this is a major tell. He should be getting Forest Sealstone, right? So why is he not getting Forest Sealstone? Must be either already in his hand, which is like pretty unlikely, or in his deck, right? So I figure there's, 40-something cards in his deck and maybe 6 or 7 cards in his hand. So although it is possible that his Forest Sealstone is just chilling in his hand, I make the read that it's prized. He also took a while on that Arven, so he seemed a little uncertain. Maybe he checked the deck for a long time, so pretty confident it was prized. I also think if it was in his hand, just makes a lot of sense to attach it. Just make sure that it doesn't get Iono'd away. And then he's just going to go ahead and end his turn with an instant charge. And I got just about nothing in hand. I think I have a Vessel here. I just thin out 2 energies. I don't want to draw energies off this Iono. I need to find basics. I need to find Cleffa. I need to find Regidrago V. Ogerpons would be great. And he goes ahead and shows me the most broken hand of all time before like accidentally semi-shuffling his hand into his deck. But we're playing Friday Night League, so we just kind of try to fix it. We just kind of see a bunch of rare candies and Pidgeots and go, well, that kind of looked like your hand. So we toss it to the bottom. He's going to get 6 cards, and we're just going to play on from here. I end up drawing a pretty abysmal 6 cards. I do draw Jamming Tower, which is nice, but I think given the fact that he almost definitely prized Sealstone here, it's not really going to be relevant. And I only get 1 Nest Ball, so I opt to go ahead and grab Cleffa instead of Regidrago V. I think my hand here was pretty terrible, and I decided that a Regidrago V wasn't going to do me a lot of good anyways, because on my next turn I'd probably be draw passing. So I just got the Cleffa. Hopefully we don't get attacked this turn, and our opponent gives us the good news by just like going draw instant charge. We do have to rip a research here, discarding 3 energies and 2 boss's orders, which really sucks. We already used a Super Odd last turn, so now we're down 3 energies, a Super Odd, and 2 boss's orders. Not ideal, but at least we got some Dragos down. We got an Ogerpon. We're playing the game. And another disaster, we actually don't even find an energy here now, so we're just going to go ahead and Cleffa with no energies on the board. The good thing is that our opponent hasn't really done too much. They don't have a Pidgeot, they aren't attacking, and I'm feeling relatively safe that he's not going to take a 2 prize turn here. Of course, if we see like a Dusclops and a Pidgeot and a Charizard come down here, we're going to be in rough shape. But our opponent's hand is comparably weak to ours, as he's just going to go ahead and Ultra Ball for Charizard now. I'm not entirely sure if this is the correct play or not. He's going to go ahead and knock out this Cleffa, which does put some pressure on me to get an attack off, right? I'm going to be looking for that 3 energy Ogerpon, and I definitely would have preferred to keep using Cleffa, but I think taking this 1 prize just doesn't really do a whole lot for him, and it also leaves him a little vulnerable, right? He's going to draw less cards off Iono. He doesn't have a Pidgeot. He didn't use Instant Charge, so definitely puts him in a bit of a tough spot, but I definitely understand wanting to apply some pressure to this terribly weak start I'm having. I start my turn with an Iono, and I flip the script, draw my hand up to 9. I'm looking for a combination of 3 Grass Energies, an Ogerpon, and an E-Switch. That's going to let me knock out this Charizard, which I feel like is going to be really good. It's definitely going to give me the prize lead, which I love, and it's also potentially going to deny my opponent an attack on the next turn. Seems like he doesn't have access to his Sealstone. He's going to have no Charizard. He's going to have no Pidgeot. It's going to be really difficult for him to, I guess, play the game really in any way. And even if he does play the game, I think we're still in a decent spot. Other than the catastrophic resource loss we're currently afflicted by, we are doing pretty well here. So I take my 2 prizes and over to my opponent. He's doing a pretty big debate here, which reassures me that his hand is not particularly good. If he was sitting on like Rare Candy Charizard, Rare Candy Pidgeot, he would probably just send up his Charmander and get going. He sends up the Pidgey, so it makes me think maybe it's like a Pidgeot kind of do nothing turn, which it looks like that's what he's got. He's got an Ultra Ball, he's got a Rare Candy, but not too much else is going on here. He's gonna go ahead, grab that Pidgeot. Even if he knocks out this Ogerpon, we're going to have access to Fez. Hopefully we're going to be able to make another Ogerpon, return the Charizard, go down to 2 prizes. And then from there we can use our VSTAR power to close out the game. It's going to go ahead and quick search. I believe he gets an Arven here, but he just doesn't have all the pieces in order to get this Charizard attack off. We do see the Forest Seal Stone in his deck. It was prized. He told me after the game that it was prized, and I guess he just drew it off that first card here. And unfortunately, he does forget about Jamming Tower here. I think he's trying to go for a Super Odd, put back all the cards, and then Arven, Rare Candy Seal Stone, get the Charizard out. So he goes ahead, he grabs the Seal Stone, and I let him know there's a Jamming Tower in play. He can't do that. So yeah, he ends up just going for an instant charge here. I believe he retreats. I think this is honestly a good moment. I think a lot of players in this situation would get a little flustered that they can't use their Seal Stone, and they would just pass with their Pidgeot in the active without thinking, which of course then I could just loss impact the Pidgeot, and it would be terrible. So kudos to my opponent for kind of staying calm in this situation after making a little bit of a mistake. He thinks about sending up the Manaphy, but doesn't want to play into any kind of Cologne Kyurem shenanigans, so he just retreats into the Dusclops and uses instant charge now. In my current build in this video, I do have a Hawlucha in my deck. So what I'm kind of angling for here is just to knock out this Dusclops and then use my V-Star power for a big Hawlucha the Manaphy, Prime Catcher the Rotom, take 3 prizes with Phantom Dive kind of play. So I decided to just take it slow. I'm hoping to find my Super Odd. It's buried in my deck somewhere. And as long as I can find my Super Odd, I feel really confident that I'll be able to pull off a really cool play next turn. So I end up just going for an Iono. After I bench this third Ogerpon, I just figure that bench space isn't really going to do anything. I prized my Mew EX, which usually would love to fill up that spot. I'm not really looking to use Radzard, so I just decide to play Iono. Don't find the Super Odd, that's okay. And we just take our 1 prize card. Back over to my opponent's turn. He's got a decent amount of options in hand. He's going to end up going for some kind of Radzard play. Good idea to use the 1 prizer, of course. Additionally, it doesn't get knocked out by a 3 energy Ogerpon, which is kind of nice. It's kind of funny how Radiant Charizard can sometimes actually be a more bulky Pokemon than Charizard EX, even though it has double the HP. But he ends up drawing decently off this Iono. He's got the Rare Candy Charizard. That's going to let him make this Radzard play, but at the end of the day, on my next turn, I'm just going to flip my V-Star power, get I don't know. I need a couple pieces, actually. So I guess it's not completely guaranteed that I get that it's Hawlucha, Prime Catcher, which I know is in my deck, and an E-Switch and a Grass Energy. So it is a 4-card combo. That's not free. I am going to get the Pheasantipede, so it's going to be 7 cards. Plus the V-Star power is going to guarantee me 2 of them. And so our opponent just goes in with the Radzard, and we draw the absolute nuts here. We have Ultra Ball for Hawlucha, and then my other card in hand is just Professor's Research. So I'm going to draw 10 cards here between Research and Pheasantipede. And from here, it's pretty guaranteed. I think I have 11 cards in my deck. Yep, so I just draw 10, rip the V-Star power, discard 1, grab whatever 2 pieces I need. Super Odd. Okay, I think I just have all the pieces in hand other than that Grass Energy. Yep, there's going to be the 3 prize Pult play, and love to see Hawlucha getting some love and winning this game for us. In round 3, we run into another player sponsored by Kansan. Ethan Graham, he's a great seniors player, got a lot of top 8s and a regional win this year, and he likes to play these control decks, so he's putting us through it. It's Friday Night League, and he's playing Blocklax, so we're going to let him know what's up here. We're going to attach to our Regidrago and pass. We don't have a Canceling Cologne in our deck, so we're actually very nervous about this matchup. We don't have as many outs to Snorlax, and he's also playing the Rotomless build of Blocklax, which is even more concerning. Typically, with the Rotom build, you get a free 2 prize cards off that Rotom at the start of the game, but with this build, we are not going to get that. He does start Klefki, which is a little nice, just a squishy Pokemon. Pretty confident I'm going to get to pick up a free prize on that at some point. whether it's with a Phantom Dive or maybe just my initial attack. We like that. It does slow us down. We can't Ogre Pawn. And I'm pretty sure I'm sitting on a couple of basic Pokemon here, but I just didn't want to bench them. I felt like the second Ethan traps one of my crappy Pokemon in the active, he has so many counter catchers and nothing for me to really boss up so I can retreat. So my win condition in this game is really just dodging Accompanying Flute. I'm going to be trying to get as many basics out of my deck as possible, especially cards like Radiant Charizard, Cleffa, Squawkabilly, cards that literally cannot attack. Definitely need to be getting those out of my deck so that I don't get hard trapped by Blocklax. Pheasantipity, another Pokemon I don't really want in play, but it's okay. It can technically attack. Ogre Pawn, also not ideal, but it can attack, and it can kill Snorlaxes with 4 energies, so that one's a little bit better, but I'm going to go for an Ultra Ball here, and you see the research, discarding a bunch of basics. I also discard both my Super Rods, which is a little awkward, but I think it's okay. Ethan's not really going to be targeting my energies down. There's no Crushing Hammers or anything like that in these Blocklax decks, so I was a little annoyed by that, but I felt in the moment that it would be okay. And with this Ultra Ball, I'm just debating either getting an attacker, right? My only attacker in the discard right now is like Kyurem, I guess. And the other thing I was debating is just getting a card like Radzard out of my deck. I know I need to dodge these Accompanying Flutes. My deck is not built to sustain Snorlax trapping a bunch of my guys, so I debate just getting Radzard out of the deck, but I remember my hand here in this spot is really dead. I think my hand is like Regidrago VSTAR plus like an Ogre Pawn or something, so I just need to get attacks off. If he doesn't hit flutes, I should be okay here to be aggressive. He ends up snagging an Ogre Pawn off this flute, which, like I said, is not good, but it's manageable, right? Ogre Pawn can attack. We've got the Dragapult, and his Misfortune Sisters doesn't hit anything detrimental here. We see a Handheld Fan come down onto the Klefki. That's also going to be annoying, just like moving our fire energies onto our Ogre Pawns. Puts a lot of pressure on us, so in that way, our Super Odds being in the discard could be a little annoying. I guess he does kind of target our energies. I end up just going for another slow turn here. I think I just attach an attack with Dragapult. The nice thing about this Dragapult attack is it sets up 30 damage on each of the Snorlaxes, so an Ogre Pawn with 3 grass energies on it can take those out. Additionally, two more Phantom Dive snipes can also take those out, but we're expecting our Ogre Pawn to start getting harassed. We see Ethan whiff a Pokegear, so Ethan whiffing everything here. Whiffing the flutes, whiffing the Misfortune, now whiffing the Pokegear, so everything's lining up for us to give Ethan a hard time for playing this Blocklax deck at League. He brings up our Ogre Pawn here, which is a little annoying, but we've got a couple energy cards. Also notably, this Handheld Fan here on the Snorlax might actually end up helping us. It's going to have to move an energy back over to our Regidrago VSTAR, which sounds nice to me. We're able to get this Radiant Charizard out of our deck here. I think we got a research in hand. Oh, maybe not. Just going to be that Vessel, discarding that Radzard. Don't want it to get fluted. If it got fluted, it would probably be game ending, so love to see that hitting the bin. And as you can see here, when our board is just Regidrago and Ogre Pawn, and Ethan's not finding anything useful off these flutes, he really can't execute his deck's core strategy of trapping Pokemon, right? The other builds of Snorlax with the Mimikyus, the Cornerstone, the Rotom can apply a lot more pressure to this kind of strategy where I'm just not really doing anything. And as long as he doesn't hit a flute, he can't progress his board state, he can't progress his win condition. He's just going to be stuck here trying to find more flutes, probably trying to like Silene them back and keep fluting. But at this point, he's definitely used at least 3 flutes, possibly more. And so I'm feeling pretty good about my position. Almost all my Pokemon are in the discard pile. We get the Pheasantipity out of our deck. We get the Cleffa out of our deck. Radzard's already in the bin. I think maybe we have a Regidrago, maybe Iron Bundle, maybe an Ogre Pawn, and that's about it. So we're feeling pretty good here. We still have our switch. We still have our Prime Catcher. Lots of ways to switch in the deck. And currently we don't even have any Pokemon that we need to switch out of here. So we get our energies out. We're going to get this Ogre Pawn powered up here. And we're going to take another prize card. Just cruising through these Snorlaxes. One other thing that is kind of concerning here is I believe I prized my Mew EX. So a Cornerstone Ogerpon, my list doesn't play Canceling Cologne. So my only way to kill Cornerstone Ogerpon is Mew EX. We love to have not seen that Cornerstone come down by now. But looks like I just hit the Mew EX off the prizes there. So now we're a little more resistant to that Cornerstone strat. Ethan tosses an Eerie out there. He's looking for my switch, my Prime Catcher. He's looking for my Cologne, and at this point, I think he realizes I probably just don't play Cologne, so he goes ahead and gets the Cornerstone. Of course, he's been looking through my deck with the flutes. He's seen my hand with the Eerie. He's played some Misfortune Sisters. It's pretty likely that if I played Cologne, he would have seen it by now. And I let him know he's correct by benching my Mew EX, another Pokemon he could potentially trap. But also my only way to deal damage to this Cornerstone EX. I guess Regidrago V would work as well, but that's just worse. Fat retreat cost does less damage into the Snorlaxes. We play an Iono here, just looking to draw a Grass Energy, and then we take out these Snorlaxes. So at this point, our prize map is becoming pretty clear. Hopefully we're going to be able to knock out that Snorlax on the bench. We still have our Iron Bundle, so we could use that to force it into the active if we don't have Boss. We could also just use Boss to bring it up. And then from there, we're going to have to get some energies onto our Mew EX in order to knock out this Cornerstone Ogerpon. We also still have access to Prime Catcher and Switch, I believe. Of course, once Ethan only has this Cornerstone in play, we're not going to be able to use the Prime Catcher, which is a little annoying here, but we definitely have our Switch. It's going to be very helpful. I imagine once Ethan kind of pivots into this Cornerstone game plan, he's going to be bringing up our Regidrago VSTAR a lot. A Pokemon has a huge retreat cost, and it's just going to be a large pain for us to deal with that, but we do have the tools available to us. The Switch, I guess the Prime Catcher won't be very helpful. I believe we also have maybe a couple more energies left, so we could retreat this Regidrago VSTAR once if we need to. I think at this point, I'm in a little bit of an awkward spot. I don't have my Switch in hand, or an E-Switch, so I decided to just go ahead and take out the Snorlax. I'm not sure if I love this play. It kind of invalidates my Prime Catcher, but the idea here is that next turn, I'm just going to attack with the Mew, and then I have Switch in deck, so even if it gets like Eeried or Misfortuned or something, I can V-Star to bring back my Switch and two-shot this Ogerpon with Mew EX. Yep, like I mentioned, he's going to try and start trapping our Regidrago V-Star. We're going to need to find, I think, either our fourth E-Switch here or our Switch. I think I actually decided to just like rip Pokestop here, just because if I hit the Switch or the E-Switch, those are really my only resources left at this point. And you might think like, oh, you don't want a Pokestop versus Blocklax, but at this point, there's not much valuable cards in my deck but those two item cards. So with no Jamming Tower, that's a little bit relevant. Of course, Jamming Tower can help us get through some Bravery Charms on this Ogerpon, which would otherwise cause us... actually, no, we can still two-shot the Ogerpon through the Bravery Charm, so probably don't really care about the Charms. We're just going to attach to our Mew, and then we are going to end up playing this Iono. I'm not sure what I'm kind of debating here. I might have like... I'm not really sure what I am debating. Maybe I'm debating flipping my V-Star here, but we just go for the Iono. Draw a couple cards. We find the Switch, so that's great. Definitely preferable over the E-Switch. And now we're in the spot. We damage the Ogerpon. We still have our V-Star up. Ethan's checking my discard going, how'd you get all your Pokemon in the discard? What the heck is this? And I guess I just got a little bit lucky here. And we're going to end up taking down Ethan and his menace of a Snorlax deck. In round 4, we run into another familiar face. Lucas was on the channel a couple weeks ago when I played Miraidon at League, and he was playing Regidrago, so he opens the Squawkabilly here. I assume he's still playing Regidrago, and I'm feeling pretty comfortable by attach passing to my Regidrago V. If I knew he was playing a turbo deck, I might have gone for a Teal Dance, looking to like Nest Ball for Squawk and get a better board, but I didn't know he was playing Miraidon, so we get a little caught off guard here, and we're not feeling particularly good about our Regidrago V surviving. I guess the one thing we do have going for us is because we benched basically no Pokemon, Raikou can't knock us out, so he's going to need to double hit a generator, get 3 energies on a Miraidon. And then another thing we'll have going for us on the follow-up turn is that Miraidon won't be able to attack, so he's going to need to get a decent amount of energy cards out here if he wants to streamline some attacks. He's also got Squawkabilly, so he's going to be drawing a lot of cards here. If we see an Arven, I would assume my Regidrago is very dead. One other thing to note here, I immediately light up when I see him put down the Bravery Charm. Once his Bravery Charm is in play, assuming he's playing Landon Caitler's regional champion list, which I do assume in the moment, we're going to be able to pull off a double Kyurem play. So what I'm thinking here is our Regidrago V is going to get knocked out. Hopefully next turn we can use Cleffa, bench some Regidragos. And then if Lucas doesn't have a boss's orders, maybe he's just forced to KO the Cleffa or pass, we can go for a double Kyurem and win the game in 2 attacks. Especially when Lucas doesn't get down the Pikachu EX here. He's bench locked at 5, which is really nice. Really restricts his options. There's no Pheasantipity. I guess really Pheasantipity is the most important one. And also his Raikou's not going to be able to do a lot of damage. He can't bench the Raichu. He also can't bench the Magnemite. So I guess there is actually a significant volume of Pokemon that he'd like to have down and can't. But we are pretty confident our Regidrago is dead here when Lucas uses Secret Box, gets a Jenny and an Arven. Arven can get another Jenny, so I don't know how many energies we end up seeing get in play this turn, but it's going to be a lot, and our Regidrago is going to be very, very dead. This will also mean Lucas probably has enough energies in play for a follow-up attacker on the next turn. I wouldn't be surprised to see like 6 energies come into play here, and then of course he doesn't have to worry about Miraidon not being able to attack. This Bravery Charm is also a little annoying. Makes his Miraidon a little more bulky. Of course, like a Radiant Charizard wouldn't be able to knock it out from that 220 to 270 difference. It's a big deal. We're going to see some lightning energies come into play. A retreat into the Miraidon, and I believe just a Photon Blast. Yep, Regidrago hitting the bin. We're down to 1 Ogerpon, but in the first round, we came back from a slow start, so let's see if we can do it again. We did it against Charizard too. This Regidrago deck is really just like the king of comebacks, so don't count me out here. We are down 2 prizes, and we have no Regidragos, but we have some lines, that's for sure. What I really want to do here is just like get down Cleffa, double Drago, use Cleffa, and then go for some kind of like double Kyurem line. He's board locked out of Raichu, so he would need a boss's orders on the next turn to get around the Cleffa, and then a boss's orders on the turn after that to get around the Drago. And he wouldn't have access to Pheasantipity. Hopefully we'd be Ionoing him. So I actually felt pretty confident in the moment that that was going to be a winning line if I could just get the Cleffa off here. But from what I remember, this research was a little underwhelming. I think I drew like double E-switch, like no Pokemon search, just this Nest Ball. You see the Prime Catcher in my hand. So I decided to go for the Pheasantipity, looking to just draw into like a ton of Pokemon search here. I might even settle for just 1 Drago. Of course, if we bench 1 Drago and he has boss, it's going to be really bad for us. But maybe we can just Cleffa, dodge the boss, be in a good position. But I remember here, my hand is actually like really interesting. It's double E-switch, Fire Energy, Prime Catcher, Ultra Ball for Radzard, right? So I can go like Radzard, kill something, take 2 prizes. And my hand just happens to be like perfect to make the play. It's like an exact combo of cards, and I just happen to have it. But it actually seems like so bad. And like you can see, I'm not moving very quickly. I'm kind of debating what I'm doing because I decided to just go for this Radzard play. Mostly because I can't get Cleffa and Regidrago down, so I feel a little bit awkward about like just potentially benching Regidrago and passing. Like that doesn't sound good. But I really don't want to use Radzard either. I don't want to open up his bench. I think I would really like here to just like Radzard for 250 into this Miraidon and not knock it out. That way we still keep him board locked, and then we can like pick up the KO later on with Jamming Tower. But our only way to switch is Prime Catcher. Yeah, and you see, I just want to get this Regidrago here and commit to that double Kyurem line, but I decided to go for this Radzard. So this is something I really debated. Probably the most interesting moment of the whole tournament. Let me know in the comment section down below. would you have gone for this Radzard play, or would you have just maybe gotten a Regidrago or Cleffa here? Of course, that could have been a Regidrago on my bench right now instead of that Radzard with all the energies. And then if you Mew into a way to find Cleffa, like, you're in business, right? So, I don't know. I do end up finding Ultra Ball. At this point, that's just going to get me a Regidrago V. If my Radzard gets knocked out, I'm going to have Regidrago VSTAR to recover it, hopefully recover an Iono. That's the main reason we're getting down this Drago. Not particularly worried about attacking with it. Probably just going to be spamming Radzard from here on out, but it is nice to have access to that V-Star power. In the moment, I also debated getting down like a one-prize Pokemon, like an Iron Bundle or Cleffa, or just something to play around Lucas's Iron Bundle, but I don't end up doing that. Iron Bundle's in the discard, so it's really just Night Stretcher for Iron Bundle that gets him there, so I'm not too concerned about it. Lucas immediately benches the Pikachu EX, lets me know that he wishes he benched that earlier in the game, and I agree. Now he's going to be able to get down that Magnemite, that Raichu, and the Fezandipity, which of course we didn't want to activate. So this kind of shows why this Radzard play is not really ideal. Or he ends up deciding he doesn't want the Raichu. I think he mentions that he can Night Stretcher for Bundle here, and so he doesn't want the Raichu blocking up his bench. Playing Friday Night League, of course, I let him shuffle that Raichu away. He hasn't drawn any cards or anything, so it's all good. He rips a Generator. Pretty inconsequential, but he's going to have plenty of attackers from here on out. This is going to enable like a Raichu play too, so there's not really any ideas of like maybe me using Goodra and like being annoying that way. He uses Flip the Script and Raikou, draws a bunch of cards here. Any Arven, any Night Stretcher, any Boss's Orders, get him there. And he actually lets me know here that he has both options. I kind of asked him, I kind of realized like he was thinking for too long. I realized he just must have Arven and Boss, and he was deciding between them. So he ends up going for the Boss. And then he just Ultra Balls here. I think he just decides to bench the Raichu now. I guess he's not concerned about having the bundle anymore. I think this is like probably a mistake. It also blocks him out of Lumineon for Boss for game on the next turn. Of course, I'm going to be using this Radzard. Also, notably, he attacks with the Miraidon that has Bravery Charm on it. And at surface level, this seems good, right? Oh, I can't kill the Miraidon with my Radzard, and that's great. But if you think about it, this actually lets me not kill the Miraidon, which doesn't activate Fez, doesn't free up a bench spot. So I was pretty happy to see this Miraidon with the Bravery Charm come into the active. My plan here is to punch it for 250, and then next turn I'll use Jamming Tower and like a Prime Catcher or something to take 4 prizes at once. I bench the Hawlucha. I don't see a reason not to. I have 8 bench spots with the Area 0, and lets me draw some more cards with Mew. After that, we go ahead and Fez, and I was looking for an Iono, but I felt like maybe I didn't actually need Iono. I knew one of his cards was an Arven, and he played a Boss, so he probably doesn't have another Boss. Of course, if I had an Iono, I would have played it, but we end up not drawing the Iono. We have research here, so that's what I plan on doing. We're going to get down this Regidrago V for next turn. Again, we don't really care about attacking with Regidrago, but it is nice to have access to that V-Star power. And then we're going to end up playing research here, and we have to discard Jamming Tower. You'll notice I opted to discard that because I don't want to kill this Miraidon. I don't want to give him the bench space. I don't want to access the Fezandipity. Also, that gives him ideas of like blowing up Magneton, and then he also gets access to Counter Catcher, and I know that he has Arven in hand, so I really don't want to be killing this Miraidon. Ideally, next turn, we can just use Regidrago V-Star to get back the Jamming Tower, maybe Prime Catcher. We also go ahead and get the Kyurem down here. It plays around ideas of like maybe bundle into Iron Hands. I don't really think that's possible because he's kind of bench locked awkwardly, but we go ahead and do it anyways. I don't see a downside to just chucking this Kyurem onto the board, and when Lucas draws for turn and doesn't immediately slam down a Boss's Orders, we're assuming we're going to be good here. Of course, he doesn't have very much draw power here. He grabs a Lumineon out of the prizes. If he didn't bench that Raichu last turn, he of course could have won the game here with a Boss's Orders, but that's not the case. And I think he ends up just passing it off here. I'm not sure if he actually kills this Radzard or not. I think he probably should be knocking out the Radzard here, at least force me to get another attacker. I mean, of course it can't attack, but I can always use Prime Catcher, so... Lucas ends up playing Arven here after a lot of thinking, and once he plays the Arven, I'm pretty sure I have the game locked up. He flashes the camera. The next 2 cards on top of his deck were boss's orders, so... Oh gosh, that's so painful to see, but... He's not going to be able to boss this turn, especially now that he's played Arven. I think I'm sitting on, like an unbelievable amount of game in hand. And so it's just a formality from here. He's going to, like, get down the Magneton, use the ability. I don't even really know what else he does, but on the next turn, we're just going to toss down the Jamming Tower. The Miraidon will be knocked out. And then we'll go ahead and play Prime Catcher. Oh, I guess actually something he could have done here. He probably should have retreated this Miraidon. Oh, that actually would have caused me a lot of issues, because if he retreats this Miraidon, then I can't put down the Jamming Tower because he could just discard the Miraidon. So, oh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, he definitely should have retreated this Miraidon. That would have forced me to, like, set up a Regidrago here and, like, Phantom Dive, right? Like, I would have to, like, Phantom Dive Squawk plus Miraidon and not use the Jamming Tower. I might have been able to do that too. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I toss down the Jamming Tower. The Miraidon gets knocked out, and I Prime Catcher the Squawk for game there. So that's going to wrap up our Regidrago video today. Overall, I felt very confident in the deck. I felt like almost every game I was getting destroyed at the start. I had really bad draws, and then I was just somehow able to win. And I feel like that really is representative of how this Regidrago VSTAR deck plays. I think if you take a passive approach in the early game, sack a couple prize cards, and then look to make some cool plays later on, you're going to find a lot of success. I really like the Iron Bundle right now. Because I rate this Regidrago VSTAR deck so highly, it makes sense to be teching for the mirror match. The Hawlucha, of course, it won me the game against Charizard. I probably could have found a way to win anyways. We're up pretty far in the prize trade, but I think that use shows how maybe in a closer game, that 3 prize turn could really push me over the edge in that matchup. Otherwise, the list was pretty solid. There wasn't a canceling clone. If Ethan's going to keep playing Snorlax, I guess I got to play a canceling clone in my deck at League. So I'll probably have a canceling clone next week, and that'll be all for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.